Hello! Whether this is good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, I hope this presentation finds you well. My name is Lynsey Sayers, and I will be presenting today, February 29th, 2016, on the topic of developing healthy relationships between faculty and preceptor. This is a topic that means a lot to me as I had a horrendous experience as a preceptor. I have talked about this before in one of our discussions about 2 weeks ago, so some of you are already familiar with it, but for those of you who were not part of the discussion, the situation is as follows. I was a relatively brand new nurse working on the cardiology unit and was approached by my manager asking me to preceptor a nursing student. With only a year and a half experience under my belt, I was unsure whether I was the best person for the job. But I was quickly reassured that I was a strong nurse who had a lot to offer to this nursing student. So I agreed to take on the responsibility. Because this student was to start within 2 weeks, there was not enough time for me to be able to go through the preceptor orientation. At our initial meeting, the student informed me that this was his third time taking the clinical and that he had failed it twice before due to reasons that he claimed were out of his control. He also told me that this was his, quote, last kick of the can, and he said that it was up to me whether he passed or not. Needless to say, this created a lot of anxiety for me. On the unit, the student showed many alarming traits. He was unsafe with patient care, unreceptive to feedback, and overall showed a total lack of basic nursing skills. I was very unsure as to what to do in this situation, so I set up an appointment with a faculty to go over my concerns. The faculty for the student was great. She sat down with me and explained to me why the student had failed his 2 previous clinicals, and she gave me strategies to use with him to help enhance his learning. Unfortunately, none of the strategies that I tried were successful. After meeting with the student and faculty, he ended up being still unreceptive to feedback, and he rejected all of our concerns. So the faculty and myself brought our concerns forward to the course coordinator, and all 3 of us agreed that it was unsafe for the patients, for the student, and for myself to continue this clinical, and he was failed. What is the moral of the story? Preceptors need to have healthy relationships with faculty in order to feel secure, safe, valued, and heard. With the new nursing programs that have evolved in the province of Saskatchewan alone, we know that there is a higher demand for preceptors than ever before. We need to ensure that we are providing our preceptors with the support necessary for them to succeed. Role differentiation. Let's quickly differentiate the roles between a preceptor and the faculty member. Preceptors play an essential role in the development of nursing students. They offer a unique one-to-one relationship between an experienced nurse and a nursing student. The preceptor functions as a role model and provides individualized clinical instruction, coaching support, and socialization for the learner. It is stated in Gaberson and Orman that the preceptor must be an expert practitioner who can model the role functions of an advanced practice nurse, including decision-making, problem-solving, leadership, teaching, and scholarship. The preceptor also participates in the evaluation of learner performance, although the faculty has ultimate responsibility of summative evaluation and decisions. The faculty member, also known as a teacher, has overall responsibility for the quality of the clinical teaching and learning. The faculty is responsible for initial orientation and continuing support of all participants, whether that preparation be formal or informal. The teacher provides the link between the educational program and the practice setting by selecting and preparing preceptors, assigning students to preceptors, providing guidance for the selection of appropriate learning activities, serving as a resource to the preceptor-student pair, and evaluating student and preceptor performance. Although the faculty member may not be physically present during clinicals, they are expected to enhance the personal and professional development of the preceptor. Working together. Thorough preparation of preceptors and students for their roles is key to the success of preceptorships. Now that we know the differentiation between the roles, we can see that the role of the preceptor is heavily dependent on the faculty member. Without a strong faculty member, preceptorships may not be successful. Effective collaboration is required to minimize the drawbacks and achieve advantages for the educational program, clinical agency, teachers, preceptors, and students. For this presentation, I wanted to look a bit further into common issues that affected preceptors. I think that by acknowledging these issues, we as faculty can have a better understanding of the preceptor stressors and therefore be able to better prepare them for their role by giving them strategies and suggestions to implement into their practice. This should hopefully promote a healthy and trusting relationship between faculty and preceptors. I have chosen the following 3 issues that nurses have with preceptoring. Number 1 is the extra responsibility. Number 2 is technology. And number 3 is generational differences. Anyone currently working in healthcare knows about the stressor of extra responsibility. Speaking for myself, I work on a unit where our patient load ranges from 4 to 6 acute cardiology patients. We have 2 continuing care assistants to help with the 42 patients on the unit, and we have on average 8 to 10 admissions and discharges daily. Now, let's keep in mind that that is a normal day. Sometimes on our busy days, we can have up to 18 or more discharges and admissions. And let's not even get started on working short-staffed. Needless to say, for any unit, having extra responsibility added to our baseline work can sound like a very daunting task. Preceptors report that it is becoming more difficult to accommodate advanced practice students due to high patient turnover and increasing complexity of patients. According to Wiseman, the increasing shortage of preceptors has limited the admission rates in some advanced practice programs, and the long-term effect is that there may be a shortage of advanced practice nurses. No one wants to see that happen in Saskatchewan or in any area that they work in, so this is a very important issue that we have to manage with our preceptors. So unfortunately, there are nurses that view preceptoring as both a duty and a burden. Some nurses thrive in the preceptor role, whereas others feel overwhelmed with the additional responsibility. In most clinical settings, nurses are assigned nursing students in addition to their usual patient assignment without consideration of their patient care responsibilities. From the nurse's perspective, their primary focus was to keep their patients safe and to complete their patient assignments in a timely manner, and the teaching role came secondary. A study done by DeFuvio, Stickler, Fash, and Gallo found that although nurses feel clinically prepared to teach students, they often feel unprepared in their role in teaching students and ensuring that the student nurse met their clinical objectives. In this study, nurses expressed a need for classes and specific training to prepare for preceptoring nursing students. In other words, they need a preceptor orientation. In addition, nurses cited the need for management support and consideration of the extra workload of having a student. Nurses stated that they did feel motivated to support future nurses as they feel a sense of empathy for the students and a feeling of obligation and responsibility to give back to the nursing profession. So we know that nurses want to help, but they do just need that extra support from faculty and management to be helpful to our students. We know that the clinical experience is vital for preparing nursing students for their subsequent RN roles, and we want our students to be supported by preceptors who want to assume the preceptoring role. The way in which nurses perform their role as a preceptor is highly relevant in preparing future workforce, so we have to ensure that the faculty are doing everything that we can to prepare our preceptors for successful clinical placements. So what can we do? As faculty, we must ensure that our preceptors are going through proper orientation training in our designated areas. This I cannot stress enough. I think that if a nurse has not gone through the proper training, they should not be asked to preceptor. It is simply not appropriate. We should provide teaching strategies to preceptors when necessary. In my example, the faculty presented me with a few new teaching approaches that I had not heard of before, and I greatly appreciated utilizing those strategies in the clinical that I was in. We need to acknowledge the efforts of preceptors and make sure that they know that the time and effort that they are putting into the clinical is not going unnoticed. And lastly, we can also advocate for our preceptors by speaking to their managers and charge nurses to possibly see if their workloads can be reduced when they are preceptoring our students. On the unit that I work on, our charge nurse will actually pull preceptors and their students out of our observation units because he recognizes that the workload in OBS is far too advanced for nursing students. On to issue number 2, technology. What a wonderful topic. We have discussed technology frequently throughout this class, and I love touching on this again. For the use of this presentation, I will discuss technology use for the purpose of communication between faculty and preceptor. I came across a panel discussion done in 2014, and I really liked this quote from it. I believe the reason why digital technology has interfered in relationships is because we have lost the ability to communicate to each other. We have lost the ability to get into one another's personal space. So what you see is people who are talking, but they're not engaging one another. There are pros and cons to technology. Pros: technology allows us to create an accessible and engaging e-learning space designed to support preceptors in a seamless fashion, improve the quality of student preceptorship, and enhance professional teaching capacity. Technology allows opportunities for rural, national, and international student placement and helps ensure that faculty members are accessible. And technology provides quick discussion between preceptors and faculty through the use of text messages, emails, Skype, or other forms of communication. Cons to technology: messages can be taken out of context. Technology lacks your true face-to-face communication. Some people may not feel comfortable using technology to communicate, and some preceptors may lack accessibility to technology. Preparing the preceptor. To help ensure that we are supporting the preceptor in their role, as faculty, there are a few things that we can do to help with the cons that I presented in the previous slide. In the beginning of clinical, talk with your preceptors about their thoughts on communicating through technology. If the preceptor feels comfortable with it, then by all means, utilize technology to your benefit. If your preceptor does not, then make sure that you are adjusting to their comfort level. Again, it is important to remember that preceptors are taking on students above their baseline workload. So, in all ways possible, we should be accommodating to our preceptors as much as possible. As I mentioned in the previous slide, technology lacks a true face-to-face communication. Whenever possible, have conversations with your preceptor either over the phone or in person. This can help eliminate messages being taken out of context. With items like course objectives, assignments, etc., I think it would be okay to share these online, but for items like midterm evaluations or any concerns regarding student evaluation, it can be beneficial to either meet in person or to schedule a time to talk on the phone. When I was preceptoring, my faculty member would actually come to the unit to discuss student performance with me. I know that this may not be possible for everyone, but for myself as a new preceptor, I really appreciated the faculty's commitment to helping me through the clinical. It made a huge difference knowing that she was there to help support me. Issue number 3, generational clash point. Now, this can either mean a clashing between the preceptors and the students, or the preceptors and the faculty. For this presentation, I will focus on the relationships between the preceptor and the student, and the role that faculty plays in helping preceptors manage potential disagreements between generations. The data suggests that generational clash points are occurring during preceptorship experiences, and the implications of these are very serious, particularly from the nursing recruitment and retention perspective. It is vital that proactive measures be taken to inspire the future generation of nurses, rather than stifling their spirit and assertiveness. Within the discipline of nursing, values and expectations are often deeply rooted in the traditions and customs of nursing practice. So, as younger generations bring new ideas and customs to the practice setting, negative attitudes from senior staff towards the younger generations can develop, and this can result in a high level of stress being reported by younger professionals. Preparing the preceptor. Clashing between generations can be difficult to resolve. So it is important for faculty to develop an understanding about how generational differences influence the formation of the preceptor-student relationship and subsequently the overall success of the preceptorship experience. Foley, Myrick, and Young's article titled Generational Clash Points in Nursing Preceptorship showed that senior preceptors often describe their own generation as constantly comparing their own work ethic to that of the younger generation. We should remind our preceptors that perhaps there is a need to take caution when making generational comparisons to avoid this type of binary thinking, wherein one group is right and the other is wrong. As faculty, we are also responsible in helping preceptors learn how to teach younger generations by giving them strategies and tips on how millennials learn. Faculty needs to ensure that the preceptors are aware that millennials are accustomed to using technology to communicate and to retrieve quick answers via the internet, and that millennials tend to have short attention spans and are not accustomed to reflective, systemic thinking, and may have difficulty with problem solving, conflict resolution, prioritizing, and focusing on singular tasks. By giving our preceptors some resources to teach the new generation of nurses coming into the workforce, we can hopefully eliminate some generational clash points. Going forward, faculty should be aware of these common stressors that affect our preceptors. By recognizing these, we are able to hopefully alleviate stress and anxiety by providing our preceptors with strategies and suggestions to make the clinical a positive experience. This should hopefully promote a healthy and trusting relationship between the faculty and the preceptor. The important takeaways from this presentation are to ensure that our preceptors are receiving proper preceptor orientation. We need to be available to provide teaching strategies when necessary. We can involve charge nurses and managers to see if preceptors' baseline workloads can be adjusted during clinical times, and ensuring that preceptors are being acknowledged for their efforts in taking on students in the clinical setting. We should remember to start off the faculty-preceptor relationship by asking the preceptor if they feel comfortable using technology to communicate, and to adjust communication as needed. We should also try to discuss student performance in person or on the phone, as texting or email messages can be taken out of context. Lastly, we have to remind preceptors to be cautious when comparing their work ethic to the work ethic of their students, as they may differ. It will also be very important to help preceptors understand how to teach younger generations, as this can help set a positive tone for their clinical. In conclusion, thorough preparation of preceptors and students for their roles is key to the success of preceptorship. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this podcast. If there are any questions, please do not hesitate to post them below. Have a great day.